The end of the game, I noticed this while kind of watching some of the highlights. You're kind of caught on camera saying, "Give me that trophy." Can you just kind of talk about your emotions in that moment exactly, kind of where it kind of maybe seemed to hit you that trophy's coming back to Pullman?
Yeah, I'm an emotional guy. I don't really apologize for it. Our players know that. It's an emotional game, emotional moment. You know, sometimes you get caught up in that a little bit. I think that's all it was. After just coming so close to it last year, to see us, they made the big play in last year's game. For us to see our guys pull through and make the big play was a big moment.
You know, you talk a lot about communication, and you've talked about that kind of on the defense. You know, there's one play, I think it's early third quarter. They run a streak down the sideline. Ethan starts with the guy, notices that Capena's there, releases to him, and then he takes the underneath guy. Is that kind of the profile or the pinnacle play when you talk about defensive communication and kind of those two communicating there and not having two guys on one guy and leaving someone open?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we did a solid job. I thought, unfortunately, we took a little bit of a step back. It was good when you really watched it, Jamie, to know that we didn't play our best football and we found a way to win a game. I would think they would probably say the same thing, and I think that's two good teams caused that, and like what you do and how you game plan. We took a little bit of a step back in communication. I know that was a bright spot and a good one, but we just was some simple things that we messed up on that were disappointing that we got to get cleaned up. So I think anytime winning can mask things, right? Or winning can make you overlook small things and details and how you feel about making mistakes. But, we took a critical look at that this morning as we quickly moved on to the next opponent. But we got to get some things corrected before we take the field by Friday.
We talked a lot about KT and Eddie after the game for the play on the fourth down, but that play maybe doesn't even happen if not for Steve with the pass breakup on second, forcing Boston out of bounds on third. It just seems like, and maybe in this game in particular, he's kind of taking his game to the next level of being that shutdown guy and that big play corner for you guys. Yeah,
I mean, Steve's the captain for a reason, is because there's a strong belief in him as a football player, yes, but his intangible pieces and how he leads, but that's the way he is every day. I mean, he comes out ready to get better. He's really hard on himself. He was disappointed that he didn't contribute more to the team last year, but now he's that guy to go out and take the biggest test every week, and there's a pressure in that. And sometimes he can get down on himself a little bit, but to show up in the biggest moments, I think that's what Steve has worked for, and he delivered on Saturday.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Pac-12 editions, just because last week when it was all breaking, it was a chaotic week for you guys. What are your thoughts on bringing those specific teams in? You're going to see Boise and San Diego State this year, and I know it's not happening right away, but just your thoughts on bringing those teams in and how you think that's going to impact this team.
Well, I think at some point, we need to grab hold of our future and create it, right? I think, our administration, and there's a lot of things that I don't know that goes into all that stuff, right? So I know there's tons of work behind the scenes to forge a new future for the Pac-12, and I think adding 4 teams was obviously what they felt was best in those moments. The only thing, once again, I'm focused on is us. What are we going to do to advance, to stay ahead? Because those are 4 teams that, we've worked for a long time to stay ahead of, without a doubt. So we need to do that institutionally. We need to do that as a football program. We need to do that as donors and boosters and all that type of stuff. So that's one big announcement, hopefully of a couple more leading into the future. But I thought, our administration felt it was imperative to create a runway and a future, and they felt that urgency to do it now.
And then changing gears a little bit, you're saying your defense wasn't perfect, but compared to this first game when they let Portland State have 30 points, they've been looking pretty good. What are you seeing just from that first game? And then maybe from Texas Tech, that's 19 points, 16 points, and then 19 on Saturday. What are you seeing from them specifically just from that first game to now?
And Texas Tech showed that I wasn't like a sandbagger calling them good. I think they put a 52 in the first half. One of our defensive philosophies has always been bend but don't break. You saw that to the maximum on Saturday. Red zone defense can make you feel great walking off that field, and our guys were nails in the red zone. And to hold them to they had the one big play, but then 4 field goals, I believe, if I'm doing my math right. Obviously, the big 4th down stop. So sometimes if you're mentally really sturdy and strong, however they got down there, it doesn't matter. If you give that group an inch, they're going to defend it. And I think that's what you saw Saturday. So they play with great effort. They play with great emotion and energy. I think that can win a lot of games on that side of the ball, and I think that's what it was on Saturday. So although it wasn't perfect, when it was time to be mentally tough, I thought our football team and our defense was in those big moments of the game.
What kind of angle did you have on Kyle's tackle, and kind of when did you realize that was going to be a stop?
I was down there. I was probably way out of the red zone box, I believe. It was a very, obviously, stressful point of the game management, wanting to know that they were going to get 4 plays because it was 1st and goal from the 9, when to use our timeouts, when to save enough time, when not to give them time to talk about their final plays. And we almost took a timeout before the first 4th down, and then they did, right, which ended up being huge because they couldn't stop us after we got the ball back. We talked about changing the look. We didn't. Obviously a favorable play for us. I mean, and those guys rallied to the ball. I know why they called that play. I can, in my mind, know what they were looking for in that moment to try to hit off the backdoor speed option. Our guys just performed better, and I was probably 4 or 5 yards away when he tackled him, so it was bad.
What made you not want to call a timeout in that spot?
Because I didn't want them to think more about it. And then it was like, well, we're going to see their look. And I was with Jeff. I said, hey, what do you look? What do you see? We were lined up. He said, we're good. So those are all those communication points of things that are happening fast, and you got to make those big decisions. And then obviously if they scored, they would have went for 2. You don't get 2, a field goal wins. We have a minute 12, 3 timeouts to get a field goal, plenty of time. Obviously if they get it, field goal ties. So there's just so many things that go into it in that split second of those moments.
I want to ask about Dean. Just 3 of his last 9. Field goals. What's kind of behind that? And, it's kind of what do you see in him right now?
Well, first off, we're asking him to do a lot. We put a lot of pressure on him, and, so now his attention isn't all on field goals and what he needs to do. Now it's punting plans, protections, when you need to grip and rip the ball, and I'm not creating excuses. Dean would be the first one to come up here and say he needs to put that between the upright. But I'm also not going to say he didn't make a big one in the first quarter either, and he did. So I trust in Dean. He knows the expectations, and we need to continue to put the ball between the uprights when he's called upon, right? So that's kind of where we're at, and we'll continue to go with Dean.
Coach, ever since you've been here, you've emphasized finishing games in the 4th quarter. Obviously, the offensive execution on Saturday wasn't where it needs to be. I know you mentioned going over those small details in film, but just overall execution-wise from your offense in that 4th quarter, what would you have liked to see done differently?
Well, first thing would be, when you go against really good people, they expose your weaknesses. And up front, our pad level was too high on Saturday. That was the biggest thing. I thought we handled protections, and we got man-to-man and body-to-body really well. But it was the first team to kind of walk us back through some pad level and us getting inside position. I think it starts there. And then we haven't been able the last 2 games to get a rhythm in the pass game. You really look at the 17 completions, don't quote me on that. So many of them are off of John scrambling. So we have to find a better rhythm. We need to get Kyle Williams the ball more in different ways. So there's so many different challenges. Obviously, we didn't get the run game going efficiently enough to stay ahead of the chains. We had a few pop out of there, and John made a fantastic play on 3rd and 20. I mean, you can't even really count on that. All we're trying to do is get a field goal, and that worked out well. But, it's just one of those things where we just – last 2 games, it's been a sporadic rhythm, and we are a passing team, and that's okay. But so we need to get rhythm in that pass game, and that's O-line to John to tailbacks to receivers. It's everything. It's the plan. It's just kind of we need to keep getting better. So I think it just comes back to that. But those are some specific points where, I thought we failed. We need to give John a few more, RPO options at times because I thought they loaded the box. They brought down safeties. They blitzed from all sides of levels. So we'll take a lot of that on me too, that we need to go out there and continue to get better with the plan.
And just looking ahead to Friday night, obviously another undefeated team is coming in here. I know you don't like talking about guys who no longer play at your program, but their starting quarterback obviously spent some time here. How have you seen Emmett kind of grow into where he is now? And just kind of how proud are you of a kid who, was on your scout team that is now having success?
All right, first off, you look at our recruiting room or our quarterback room from last year. One's the Heisman favorite, one's the biggest sensation on the West Coast, and one is thrown for over almost 1,000 yards. pretty cool. That's a good evaluation. Good job, Coach Schlager. So, I mean, we're proud of that. And I think when guys come in and they genuinely say, Coach, I want to play. What's my options here? What's my options? I feel proud of Emmett, right? And for him to have success, we know him well. He's got probably the quickest release of all the 3 guys I just mentioned. Extremely accurate quarterback, throws a great deep ball. There was never a time where he threw touchdown passes for us in cleanup minutes at times. So for him to get this opportunity, season the moment, obviously the run and shoot is coming back to see if offense that we've seen a little bit. So it's one of those things where I'm proud of him. I'd like him to take a week break on that, right? But it's cool to see. He's an ultimate competitor. He wants to play, and I'm glad to see him getting a chance to do that.
Obviously, last week, Coach, maybe one of the biggest areas where you won was in penalties by 10, 6-16. I'm just curious for you what you saw from your team that kept them so disciplined, or maybe what throughout the week kind of leads to that, and who you maybe give some of the most credit to coaching staff or team that goes into that low number.
Yeah, sometimes this is going to sound weird, but we don't emphasize penalties a lot. We don't. Because analytically, sometimes you overdo it, and, man, people get so down about them. You can overcome these things, right? But it was one of the things about discipline. We're really big on pre- and post-snap penalties, and we had a couple of those too. So we got to be able to control ourselves in those moments and play really fast through great technique. I think it means you're playing with technique and discipline. Rewind last year to the Apple Cup, we had 6-7 false starts. Right, to see them do that, not us, I think it was a big step in the right direction for the discipline of our football team.
And then last Wednesday, you kind of said that maybe the energy wasn't good enough at the time, and then obviously you do get the win Saturday. I'm just curious from your evaluation where it was during that game, and if it was significantly improved, just where you feel like that sort of came from throughout the week.
The guys know that I'm very honest, and sometimes I say the way I'm feeling at that moment, and that's what I felt in that moment. But I also reassured them on Thursday that, A, there was time to recoup that in our game plan and make sure that we were right. B, we didn't put a week's worth of preparation in that. I said it after the game. We put 9.5 months of preparation into that, right? So one bad day or one lack of focus day or however you want to categorize that doesn't mean we're not going to be ready for Saturday either, right? So I reassured them that. I pointed that out Thursday morning in the team meeting. I showed them some clips of what I was referring to. And then, once again, it's never as good or bad as you think it is in the moment. I thought our guys did get good work in. I don't think it was to the standard at that moment that we could perform at and prepare with. And this week we'll take another great week of preparation, right? This is already Monday afternoon, right? We already had our walkthrough. We're going to go hit the field here at 4:30. So everything's sped up, and you're only going to get so many looks. So once again, this is a rules and principles football game, and our guys got to be able to bring it through the preparation. And there are guys that are really sore that are going to ask them to go out there in pads and go out there and play. So we got to go do that again this week.
2 days removed from seeing fans rush the field, greet you off the bus back in Pullman, all the excitement online. Not sure if you saw Michael Bumpus's radio intro. He blasted the fight song this morning. Obviously you're moved on, working on San Jose State. But when you'll think back on this weekend and just all the interactions you've had, what are you going to remember?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of Cougs that called in sick on Monday, after a 2-day hangover. So, there's some of that out there. I just think a lot of pride. Like I said, I loved playing the game. I actually loved the environment. I know neutral field, all that stuff. We need this game back in Pullman for our community and university and all those things, but I loved it. Spent a lot of time on the field thanking the fans and as they're rushing, all that stuff, taking pictures. But these moments, bask in these moments, okay? Because there's so much hard work that goes into these moments. That's what I made sure every member of our program understood. Right? That's a lot. That's, Coach Atawaya and Rob Schlager and Coach Caligas and Coach Malone. I'm thinking, Coach Witt, guys that have been with me from the beginning, to make sure I'm not missing anybody, of those guys, that this was a lot to get here. And we've been through a lot to win that football game, right? And those moments are possible here at Washington State, right? That's why I want everybody to understand, it just takes more and more investment. It does. And I keep using that word, and there'll be a time when I get really specific on what I'm talking about. But this moment, is everything, to remember that feeling and how our fans, our donors can have an opportunity to recreate that more than we think is even possible, right? Through a couple special people, there's going to be a match campaign with the Cougar Collective that they're going to match every dollar up to a certain amount that we're still working through. This is the time. This is the time, Cougs. I'm talking to Cougs out there. This is the time. These moments, those feelings from Saturday can continue to happen, but only if we're willing to go the extra mile.
Talking about continuity, both on your staff and on your roster, people choosing to stay with this program even through a lot of changes. What you've talked about, people stay for this moment, for moments like this. Yeah. What has allowed, kind of everybody to buy in and just still be here today?
Well, I think I talked about it. The coaching consistency really helps. From the top 5 spots in our organization are still here. We got a bunch of dedicated players, disappointment from last year, love and belief in what we're doing here and how we're developing them. Seeing Cougs go on and be in the NFL and get drafted and do great things, like they're seeing that you can do it all right here from Washington State. So I do believe that's a big piece of what we're trying to accomplish. And to be in year 3 and see all the hard work really get to application on the field. I told the guys this morning, a quarter of our season is over. It's amazing to say that already. But did we expect to be here? The answer was yes. Can we handle the success and all the noise that comes with that? I'm not a big believer in talk about negative. I'm not a big believer in putting fear and doubt and what if we don't do this or that. Let's live up to the standard of what we're capable of doing. That's the whole message this week. And same thing goes for the fans. Let's live up to the standard of showing up and supporting this football team.
And then Devin Kalani, local kid, winning the Apple Cup. Did you get a chance to talk to him, celebrate with him after the game?
I don't think he was going to let the trophy go. Like, he was the guy that was like the protector. Like, this is my deal. So it was cool to see just the response, the local guys. I mean, Andrew Edson playing that moment. It's just cool. I remember winning it in 21 and Justice Rogers and Amani Marsh. There's all those guys that it means something to them. And Dev represents us in such a high class. It's really cool to see him just live in that moment.
I know you just talked about how you don't like to talk about negative. I'm not trying to lead you there, but it's one of the old football adages, okay. A big emotional win the next week, the quote-unquote trap game, however much stock you put into that. How important is it for the guys to really come out on a short week, come out sharp today, and get practice started off good and have it translate?
I'll be able to answer that. I think I'm media on Tuesday, too, after a couple days of just seeing where our mind's at. And great teams play nameless, faceless opponents and just live to their standard. That's the message for our guys. What type of competitors do we have at nature, in our heart, in our minds? It'll show up on Friday night. So that's kind of the messaging that we're using, that we're talking about. Once again, we don't dwell on last year. We learned from it. We moved on, understand how to attack this week. We've been successful in short weeks, I think, through the last couple of years, and we're going to need to be able to do it again.
Maybe Emmett, what do you see from the Spartans on tape that piques your interest?
Yeah, because it isn't just Emmett. I mean, he's dishing it out to some really quality wide receivers. Number 3 has 34 catches and 6 touchdowns in 3 games. I mean, that's phenomenal. So he's outside, he's inside. Number 11's a big deep ball threat. The vertical passing game is real. And then defensively, I think even from my time back in the Mountain West, when they were just starting to peak, I mean, this is the Bay Area's best team over the last 4 or 5 years. There's no question about it. So they're defensively, they're willing to attack. They're going to get across our line of scrimmage in a hurry. There's not a lot of read and react to it. It is go. They have 10 takeaways in the first 3 games. I mean, that's hard to do. So it's a fast, aggressive style. Obviously, their head coach has been through everything. I'm just thankful he's not running the triple option. I'm going to be honest with you, I really am. Because that is impossible on a short week. But, they're going to be a hard physical football team that's undefeated, coming in here really confident, and we need to make sure that we're ready to play.
Last one for me. Friday night game. A lot of, everyone associates Friday night with high school football. Just wondering where high school football holds in your heart, any memories you have, and where that's been in your life.
Oh, it's another opportunity for Palouse After Dark. Friday nights, though, are special. I actually moved my senior year. We weren't very good at Kohler High School. Yeah, I remember a bunch of different things. Most importantly, though, like playing with my brother. My sophomore year, he was the center. I was the quarterback. Oh, yeah, Kiwani, homecoming, last-second drive, win. Almost fell down, put my hand down. Mike Kordiak, there's a name for you. Bam, 7-yard, like a 50-yard touchdown with 30 seconds left. So it was great memories. Not now that my son's playing ball, Junior Greyhounds, big win, 9-6 on Saturday, probably the biggest win of the day. Didn't score. He was a little sore. He's now a running back now. So it's just fun now that he gets a chance, and I'm going to get a chance to watch him on Saturday because we're off, which is beyond awesome. So just those moments of this game does so much for you. It's so cool. I appreciate that question.
Sorry, one more. When you're watching, is it hard to turn the coach brain off?
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch him a ton last year, but throughout all of his sports, I do a pretty good job. My wife takes care of everything. Trust me, she's like on him. So I don't even need to worry about that. I try, but every once in a while I slip into like, come on, Dickert, get moving, right? You're not playing very hard, right? So that's what I focus on more than anything.
Are they kicking field goals? How do you get to 9 points?
I asked him, and he couldn't actually even explain it to me. Something about you can go for a try for extra points. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we did win 9-6. That is confirmed.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You mentioned Devin, and just wanted to kind of quickly get your thoughts. The first offsides on the last drive, he does a pretty elaborate tumbling routine. Just curious, how would you rate that? Scale 1 to 10.
His acting skills in that moment were probably about a 9.5. I don't think his normal acting skills are very good, but that was big to get him to jump off sides was huge, and he took it to the nth degree. Yes.
You mentioned pad level on offense, and just kind of curious what you've thought so far of the pad level on defense. I know there's been some missed tackles here and there the first 3 weeks. Do you think it's a combination of that and just maybe not finishing the tackles, or where do you kind of think that's coming from?
Tackling is tracking, and it's all angles, right? Against Texas Tech, it was one of the best defensive tackling performance we've had in a while. And to follow it up, once again, give credit to Jonah Coleman. This guy is hard to bring down. It's 2 years of evidence that is very difficult to do. So a little bit of that, a little bit of confidence, strike zone. Sometimes you're ducking your head, like you're not wrapping and squeezing. There's a lot of things that go into that piece that we're continuing to work on.
And then just Lely, Nick, Jamori, Carlos, kind of where do you kind of see all those guys at? Jure?
I think Jure is going to have season-ending surgery, so he'll be out for the season. Lely will make his return this week. As long as we have a good week of practice, which we anticipate him having, he'll be out there in some form or fashion in a rotation. So we're working him back in. The only other one that was banged up coming out of the game was Kyle Williams. So Kyle played on about 70% maybe in that game. So we'll have to build him back up, hopefully, for Friday.
Well, speaking of Kyle, trying to get him the ball more. What do you have to do to kind of do that on Friday?
Just a lot of different things. Like I said, health is one big deal. And once again, Kyle's impact is felt not just in catching the ball. I think he had 2 or could have been 3 pass interferences called on him there a little bit. But so he does a lot of different things there. But it's just say that rhythm I'm talking about, even slants, hitches, screens. Like we just need to get those rhythm passes going a little bit more.
Okay, or what happened to him?
Yeah, he just banged up. Ankle, shoulder. The guy's a warrior. He's played the last couple of weeks really banged up. So we're going to try to get him back rolling, and I anticipate that we'll be able to get him there.
Jake, where's the trophy at?
It's upstairs right now. So it'll make a few spots before it makes to the CFC on the 3rd floor. But, it's in good hands. It's in good hands right now.
Was there ever a point you were worried about it?
Yeah, I made sure BV when we got back it didn't end up at the Coug. Yeah, I was like, hey, BV, go get the trophy. We don't need this puppy going viral at the Coug tonight. So yeah, it's in safe hands now. Yes, thank you guys. All right, go Cougs.